Welcome back to the She Does This podcast. I'm Jordy Lucas. I hope you've been well. It's been an interesting couple of days for me. I have been experiencing backlash on social media, and it's the first time I have ever really posted something that has caused a stir. So it's quite shocking, but also more so because it was a post that was meant to empower women regardless of how we birth our babies. It's my belief that if we have a happy, healthy baby and a happy, healthy mum, it shouldn't matter how we bring our babies into this world. And some people misconstrued that as... I don't know what they misconstrued it as, to be honest, but it wasn't the right thing to say, according to them. The thing that bothered me was these women didn't follow me. They don't follow me. They have obviously searched the hashtag Caesarean Awareness Month and have come out in full swing to whoever is trying to champion women who don't have a natural vaginal birth, which I think is pretty gross. I actually ended up turning the comments off because there were women with zero medical qualifications, and I know that because I looked on their profiles. They were giving medical advice, and I think that that is one of the most dangerous things about social media is people giving medical advice that they are unqualified to give. So I didn't want that on my page. I felt it was irresponsible to be hosting that kind of interaction on my page. So I turned the comments off and blocked anybody that was doing that. I just think that if you are a mother, you know how much pressure and judgment we feel from society. So to go out of your way to try and make another mother feel bad about her choices or the way she has birthed her baby, or to try and steer her away from medical intervention that might save her and her baby's life, like, wow, I couldn't believe some of what I was reading yesterday. The episode with midwife Kath was meant to empower and encourage us to enjoy our babies, and that even if we don't have a drug-free natural birth or you don't breastfeed your baby, we are all doing the very best we can, and we need to remove that pressure and enjoy our children. I also received some of the most beautiful messages from listeners. You know, I had messages saying that women were listening to the episode with tears streaming down their face because it made them feel that they could just go with their gut and go with their intuition, and that's what it's about. It was just a very good reminder for me that you're never going to be everything for everybody, and even when you're trying to do the very best you can with the best intentions and encourage women, there are still some people who will sift through that and try and find the negative, and you just can't focus on those people. Anyway, I will put the link to that episode in the show notes. If it tickles your fancy, go and have a listen and let me know what you think. This week on the site, we have clinical dietitian and nutritionist Jamie Rose Chambers sharing 5 ways to encourage good gut health in our kids. And we also have hairdresser Faith Williams sharing 5 ways to care for your blonde locks. You may also recognise her from a little show called The Bachelor. This week's guest is the co-founder of Keep It Cleaner and has managed to build that very successful online health and fitness empire while studying a degree in law. Very impressive. I'm, of course, talking about the wonderful Laura Henshaw, who I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with in the new Kick offices, where it's quite clear that 2021 has started off with a bang.
Yeah, I mean, very excited to be in an office. We've been working from home for over 12 months.
Wow.
And it was lovely at the start, and then it is so nice to get back in person with the team. It gets old very quickly.
Yeah. So have you and Steph been running Kick from home?
From home. Our team has worked, the biggest testament to them, because they've just worked so fantastically from home. It's been amazing. I mean, we're so lucky because we're a tech business. Everything we do is kind of through our computers anyway, but just missing that connection and I get so much energy from people, and just being able to kind of collaborate and not do it on Zoom. As much as Zoom has been such a good tool, I'm just
Yeah, I don't
very
want to dial
grateful
into
for
Zoom
it,
anymore.
but it's there's only so many hours you can do it.
I know. So let's take it right back. What were your sort of goals and aspirations as a young girl?
Yeah, okay, so it's a good question. So I was very studious growing up. If I'm thinking back to, I remember in primary school, I used to get told I asked way too many questions. But it was funny, I had some teachers who used to pull me aside behind class and say, you know, you're asking too many questions, and I had others that said, like, you're going to be, you know, I'm really excited to see what you're going to do with your life because you're so inquisitive, and it's really, really nice to see. So it's really nice I had those teachers that kind of encouraged that because I still ask so many questions. It's how you learn.
Yeah.
But then in high school, I was always really studious. I went to a Catholic girls' school, which was a semi-private school, and I was really grateful for my mum. She worked really, really hard to be able to send myself and my sisters to that school. So I felt like I wanted to kind of show her that I was so grateful and make the most of my education. So I studied really hard. I actually had so many different ideas of what I wanted to do. In primary school, I wanted to be an actress, which I can't act literally to save my life. I am the worst of all time, so that was a no. And then I wanted to be the Prime Minister of Australia, but I have no interest in politics, so that honestly didn't go very far. And then for work experience, I wanted to be a doctor at that point, and I did my work experience at the ICU. I was so lucky to be able to do it with one of my best friend's dads. Except I remember how tired I was. Like, obviously the hours they wanted me to do the real hours to kind of see what it was like. And it was like they were speaking another language because they were so intelligent, and obviously they speak in all the medical terms, and I couldn't understand anything, and I was like, wow, this is not what I kind of want to do. And then I wanted to be a dietitian. And I had put down, you know, when you finish school and you choose your options for uni, I put dietetics down as my first option. But then when I got my ATAR back, I could get into law. I knew nothing about law. I wasn't that great at English. It was a miracle that I got what I did in English to kind of get through. And then, I didn't get something that good, but I got enough there's always a threshold. I think you have to get over 35 or something in English. And I got an ATAR to get into it. So I thought, why don't I do law? I'll make my mum, and my dad really proud because it's, such a kind of prestigious degree. So then I decided to do law, which in hindsight, dietetics for what I do with Keep It Clean would have just been really helpful. However, like the law background that I now have, I just finished. I'm so happy. It took me 9 years.
That is insane.
It took a very long time, but and having the knowledge and just I feel like with especially like a contract law exam, it's or all law exams are 3 hours usually, and they're open book, so you have your book, so you're not. Which a lot of people find really funny, but you can't rely on your books because you don't have time. So you can't just be learning as you go, and you have to know it. But if you can get through a 3-hour law exam, I feel like
you can do anything.
When I think I'm like, I can't do this, I'm like, no, but I got through that exam 5 years ago, so I can do this. But it's been really, really helpful for just obviously running a business. Problem solving is so important, and I just feel like I got to practice that so much throughout my degree. So it was definitely worth it, but I kind of wish I did dietetics, but then at the same time I'm very lucky that I'm happy I finished.
And the skills are kind of transferable, as you said, that you kind of will have a business mind with Keep It Cleaner as well.
Yeah, exactly right.
So the course took you 9 years. It's such a credit to you because I think the success that you've had in the last few years, I feel like a lot of people would have just been like, you know what, I don't need the degree, I'm already in this successful business. What made you want to keep pushing through and keep going with it? Yeah, so a lot of people said that to me, like, what are you doing? Like, just stop now. But so it was at 9 years, I think I did a few more subjects than I had to because I didn't choose the right subjects. And when I started, I did law arts, so I didn't get credits for those. And then I moved to law business. And anyway, but that many subjects I had done. So up until 7 years ago, I had done like maybe 35 subjects. And some of them, like some of the law subjects were literally anything like constitutional, they were just so boring and so hard for me to get through. And I was like, I have done that. I can't give up. It was more, I think that's what kept me motivated, that I had done so much work to get to where I was. And I knew I could, and what I was sacrificing, it wasn't
sometimes over exam period I had to take some days off, which Steph, my business partner, best friend and keeper cleaners, she was so encouraging. And without Steph, I don't think I could have finished it, because I obviously felt really guilty being like, sorry, I can't work today. I have to, my exam's in 3 days. I need to take a few days. But during the semester, it was mainly just weekends and nights that I was studying. Yeah. Which is obviously a sacrifice of my social life. But I think with everything in life, what I've learned is that, you have to make sacrifices to get things. Nothing is handed to you. And I just kind of saw it like that. I could see the finish line. I only had, the points where I was thinking about giving up, I only had between 5 and 10 subjects to go. So I'd just come so far, and I knew that I've only quit on one thing ever in my life. I'm not a quitter, and I committed, and I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to quit on this. I'm going to keep going. And you just never know with with what's going to happen in life. And I know now I'll always have that to kind of lean on and look back on. And I also, the longer I was doing it, the more I started enjoying it, which sounds like super weird, to actually enjoy it. But I became that mature age student that was at the end of the class asking every single question, and all the other kids are like, can you stop asking questions? I want to leave. But it was also super, tax law was so useful for, what I do. There were so many things that were super, super useful. So the more that I kind of appreciated it, the more I started enjoying it. And then I just, just get it done.
Yeah, and I think you appreciate learning more when you're older.
Yes, 100%, because you're. I suppose I was sacrificing things to do it, as opposed to just feeling like I had to do it, so I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. So you touched on your friendship with Steph.
Yes.
How did you two meet?
So we met at Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Which was, I think it was in Melbourne Spring Fashion Week, the one that's in September. Well, yeah, that would be the one, because that is spring. That is correct. It was my first fashion week, and I just started modelling. I literally had started maybe 2 or 3 months before with an agency, and Steph had been modelling, I think, for a little bit longer, but it was her first runway kind of fashion week as well. And when I thought of the modelling industry, I literally thought of every movie. That's what I thought it would be. Everyone's so mean to each other, and 100%. That's what I thought it would be like. I was so nervous, and then I met, and I was also really bad. I had to, when I first did my first casting, I was the lady that I was really, really lucky. The lady that ran the company was like, I can see something in you, and I want to help you, but you can't be walking like you're walking now, because you literally look like a giraffe. And I was like, I agree, it's true. It's really hard. You don't just. It's really, as much as we can all walk. When I started doing a runway walking, I don't know what happened to me. I forgot how to walk, and my arms are going here and up my face. Anyway, so I had actually practiced a lot to kind of be able to do it. But Steph, it came quite naturally to her. She was so good at it. But anyway, I met her. And I just thought, oh my God, this person is so nice. Yeah. And we just got along so well. And I think because I had this idea in my head of what everyone in the industry would be like, which they weren't at all. Everyone was so lovely. We really connected, and we had 3 or 4 shows together. And when you do a show, obviously the show goes for 20 minutes. Yeah. You have maybe fittings for half a day, and then you have rehearsal for half a day, and then you have to get to the place. If the show's at 8 p.m, you arrive at 10 a.m. Yeah. And you sit there all day. You basically just sit there. Yeah. So we really got to know each other. And from there we kind of made friends. And then we both, the year or so later, we both went overseas. Steph went to New York and I went to Milan and did some modelling over there. And we both struggled with, what the international industry is like, which is the pressure on women to look in Australia, it's really great. Yeah. Still obviously a bit of a way to go, but a sample size in Australia is a size 10, which is also not the average size of anyone, obviously, but it is better than what it is in Europe, where it is 6. So, and in New York as well. So we both had this pressure to kind of look this certain way, and I think because, especially with Steph, she'd been so confident in herself, and she worked so well in Australia, going somewhere and being told your body's not okay, you need to lose weight, and you've never had to think about that before, is really, really, I suppose, hard to deal with. And we both went through that. I was the skinniest I'd ever been in my life. I just looked so tired, because for me to be at the weight that I needed to be to work, I was hardly eating. I was eating a tiny bit of fish each day. I wasn't even eating eggs, because I was like, oh no, I can't have that much protein. I should just eat vegetables. It was so unhealthy. And but I mean, that's our value was on our bodies. That's as with modelling. And so, we kind of connected on that. And then from there, when Steph got back from New York, she had a dream that we made, like an actual dream, like in the night, that we made an ebook together. And I had a blog at that point.
Yeah.
And so she said, I really love your recipes on your blog. And obviously she had I can't remember how many followers she had back then, but it was really substantial for the time, exactly. And people always asking her what she was eating and what her recipes were. And so she thought, why don't we do this together? And that's how it started.
So the ebook sort of started and Steph has this presence on social media. Did you have much of a presence yourself?
So I can't remember how many followers I had personally, but I had my blog was called Food Fit and Repeat, which is very funny name. And I had an Instagram page for that blog where I shared kind of the recipes and everything. And that page had about 50,000 followers. So we changed
quite a lot.
It was quite a lot. It was really good, and the blog was getting good traffic, which was great. So we kind of knew something was there. So at the time of the ebook, I still kept my blog, and then when we decided because once you release an ebook, it's done. Like you can't, you can't really. You can connect with people and they might make recipes from the ebook, but you can't connect with them like every week and kind of how we do now with Kick. So we wanted to build something or start something where we could kind of connect with them each month and give them new content all the time, which you can't do in an ebook. So we started a subscription website, which was very basic, 3 recipes a month, 1 workout. So very, very, very basic. But at that stage, we changed the Instagram name of my blog to Keep It Cleaner. So that's how the Instagram page started. But obviously, looking back now, it was fine because the following of Food Fit and Repeat followed for my recipes and healthy things, and that's what Keep It Cleaner was posting. I think you have to be very careful. Obviously, if it was a fashion Instagram, we wouldn't have been able to change that to Keep It Clean. People would have been like, who the heck am I following? So it was exactly the same audience, and it was still me. It was just me and Steph. So it was fine. So that's what we do.
Yeah. And do you feel like that kind of helped you repair your relationship with your body and food as well? Because I come from an acting background and I know that struggle, and it has taken me a long time to sort of repair that relationship. Has that felt like an evolution as Kick has evolved, that you've kind of grown a healthier relationship with your body as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think when we started the ebook, we were definitely both in a place where we were, obviously it would have been super, I suppose, irresponsible of us to start it when we were struggling with, and when I say struggling, with our bodies, I don't think we ever get to a point where we wake up every day and we think, wow, I really love my body, or I'm really happy with who I am. And we all have our days, but we were out of the worst of it because we kind of had time. We'd come back. I'd stopped just eating fish and vegetables for the day. But I think what's been amazing is because it's such a journey, and there's not a point where you're like, okay, I'm good now. Like I never have to worry about self-confidence again. Absolutely not. And what I think we've learnt through our Keep It Cleaner community, they're just so empowering and motivational and inspiring. And if I'm ever having a bad day on how I feel about myself, I'll go in there and read posts from, all of the incredible women in there. And I just feel like, oh, you know what? Like this makes me feel so good. And this is what it's all about. And, it's incredible. We have post approvals on, which is important just to make sure that everything in there is moderated and it's all safe for everyone to read. But it's so, Steph and I just sit back and we think, wow, we're not even needed anymore, which is actually, that's our job. That's what we shouldn't, it's amazing that we're not needed anymore, because there'll be women in there that say, I might not feel good today about myself, and then people say, but it's not, it's not about how you look, it's about how you feel, and all of those messages that we've just, Steph and I have always lived and breathed, and they're the core values of Kick. Our community lives and breathes them every day, and it's so amazing to see that and to see women kind of talking themselves up and not focusing on weight loss as the primary reason that you exercise and eat healthy. It's just, we just sit back, we're like, we're just so proud. Yeah, it's really, really special to be a part of it. Yeah.
So was there a particular moment where you thought, I'm going to step away from modelling? Obviously you still do modelling now, but I feel like the work that you do now is more your Laura Henshaw instead of a model modelling for whoever.
Yes.
Was there a point where you thought, okay, I'm going to step back from modelling and really focus on
Yes.
which is filling my soul.
Yes, there was definitely a point. So modelling doesn't for me because I wasn't that great of a model. Like you just have to realize that though. You have to be real with yourself because I was always kind of like there's obviously so many. I was obviously I'm a brunette, so I was in the brunette category. There's so many brunette models in Melbourne that were way better than me. So I was kind of like, if this person was sick, this person was not available, this person was not available, then maybe I'd get it. Maybe I'll get a job.
But
if I didn't realise that, I feel like I would have had super low self-esteem. So I've got to be real with myself here.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't the time that it was taking, but I remember I was at a casting and I had just come from a meeting and the casting was running late and it was cold, and then I got there and they were like, oh, you're meant to be wearing a summer dress, and I was like, I can't wear a summer dress to a meeting, like I've just come for a meeting, it's like freezing cold, like I'm sorry, like I didn't have one, even though I should have known that, but I didn't read the brief properly because I think it was something that I realised it's not something that I really care about anymore, so that's why I'm not putting any effort in, because usually I would always read a brief. Then I got in there and it was this acting, it was an ad and you had to act it out like a TVC commercial. Yeah. It's not like proper acting like you, but just like, walk through the forest and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I did it and I was like, oh God, I'm not going to get this. Like, I've got no idea how to do this. It looked just so uncoordinated and I didn't know what to do with my face and I was like, this is just hard. Anyway, and at the end, the woman who was doing the casting said like something like, oh, like, have you done any acting before? And I said, oh, no. And then she said something like, oh, if this is something you want to do, maybe you should practice. I think like in Fairhaven, I was really bad at it, which I knew. Yeah. But I was kind of like, well, I don't have time to practice. I'm like, well, why don't you ask me about my business? Because like that's actually where I dedicate all my time. And I'm actually really good at this, which you haven't asked me about. In my mind, I was thinking that. And then when I came out on reflection, I was like, why on earth would she have asked me anything about my business? It's irrelevant to this casting. And what I realised was, hang on, I do not want to do this anymore. Being, obviously with modelling, you don't need to, it's not about anything comes out of your mouth. No. It's about what you look like. And I have been able to completely, I mean, obviously we all have those days, but completely, and Kik has helped me so much with this, my value is not on how I look. It's not on, if someone down the street thinks I'm attractive, that is not something that I care about. I care about the things I do in my career and how I treat others and things like that. And obviously with modelling, you're literally judged on how you look. So I was like, okay, I messaged my agent, who I'm still with now, and he's so fantastic. We work on things that are just obviously aligned with me, aligned with Kik, and then for, it doesn't really matter if I'm a good model or not, because they're not looking me for just what I look like, they're looking me for what I do. Yeah. And that's been great. But at that point I was like, I can't do this anymore, because I just felt so little. And I was like, I've worked so hard not to feel like this. Yeah. So I'm going to remove myself from a situation. And I was really lucky at that stage that, Kik was in a position where I didn't have to, and I was also doing social media paid work as well, so I didn't have to rely on that. So that was definitely, I suppose I was in a privileged position where I didn't have to rely on the money from modelling, so I could take myself out.
Just Jordy here. If you are loving this episode, you might also like to listen to my interview with Brooke Jowett, who is the HIT Master Trainer at Keep It Cleaner. I will pop the link in the show notes. Back to my chat with Laura now, and I was so interested to hear how her and Steph have ensured that Keep It Cleaner remains to be a credible source for health and fitness for young girls.
Obviously, there's so much unsolicited advice on social media, and that's why with Kik it's an expert-led program. Steph and I are not leading the program. We are there, it's actually worked really well from a business perspective, I suppose, and then also just just the community resonates with it, and our subscribers resonate with it, because we're there as their friends, their older sister or whatever age they are, however they relate to us. We're not telling them what to do. The trainer is telling them what to do, and then we've got the dietitian. We've got a dietitian who approves all of the recipes. So that. We've got meditation experts. Everyone, it's so important to us to make sure that everything that is on there is expert-led, and everyone has got all of the qualifications that they need to, because it's so important, because giving health advice that is not correct can be so damaging. And I think that's what I learned. My issues with my body while modelling, being overseas, did kind of make it worse. I'd never dieted before in my life, and the world of Instagram opened up that to me. And, you know, people are telling you, you know, you shouldn't eat after 5 p.m. and like you shouldn't eat fruit because it's got too much sugar, and you know, you need to be paleo and vegan and all of those things. And I was trying to follow all of them, and I was eating zero nutrients because I was so restricted, and it can be so dangerous. And so I think because I've been there. And Steph has to some extent as well, we're so cautious about it. And especially with what we do, we have such a big responsibility because we ask people to trust us. You know, we ask people to come and join Keep It Cleaner and trust us with, you know, how they feel about themselves and going on a journey with their health, which is obviously so personal and so different with every single person. So we take it so seriously, and we make sure we never, ever, ever, you'll never catch Steph and I giving, you know, health advice that hasn't been, it's either from the expert from the program, because we know the dangers of giving it, and it's just because we've both been through it. I never, like the way that I used to restrict myself and some of the stupid diets that I did, I would never, ever, ever want to be the reason that someone else did that. So of course you can say things like, you know, eat healthy and like, eat, you know, drink lots of water and all those things, they're absolutely fine. But anything that kind of crosses that line, we're so aware, and that's when we always bring the experts in, and it's really, really important.
I think that's so amazing that you do that as well, because I think there's so many influencers and people on social media who have very large followings who give out advice on vitamins, on diets to follow, and you just sit there thinking, you know, we can look at it as, you know, late 20s, been through that experience, but there's so many young girls who... And
when you're that age and you're looking on social media, you believe if someone tells you I lost X amount of kilos because I took this tea, which I believe that back in the day, like we all took the tea that made us, was laxative. Like one of my friends literally went to the bathroom at uni, like not in the bathroom because of the tea. Like, but we saw, you know, someone, and even back then, like I've posted for that before, back to however many years ago it was, because I wasn't informed, and luckily I didn't have the influence I have now, and I'm very aware of it. But I think we're all learning as we're going. Yeah. But it's just so important to remember, like a lot of the people that are, like, I'm so cautious with what I post because I know that if I'm saying, hey, I really like this, I am encouraging others to purchase it and, you know, use their money that they've worked for. And while it's their decision, I still know that I would, you know, have influenced that decision. And so I only want to influence decisions that I'm like, I feel okay about them because it's actually really good, or, you know, it's not a vitamin that, you know, is going to make you, is a laxative at the same time. It's not something that's just a, you know, chewy vitamin that doesn't actually do anything. It actually makes an impact. So I think it's just so important to always think about that because, there's young women especially is so impressionable. Yeah. And it's so dangerous. And I think also with YouTube, I think YouTube is it's getting a bit better now, I think, but no one was regulating it, or maybe still is not, because the videos are so long. Yeah. And it's not like an Instagram post where it's print screens and then, you know, people are held accountable for it. With YouTube, it's like no one's sitting there, you know, from the government or whatever, watching people's 40-minute YouTube videos. So I think, and that's where a lot of young, impressionable women are on there and watching, and it's a scary world.
It is. Yeah. It is. I have a daughter now, and I shudder to think what it's going to be like for her when she's at that age. It's very scary. What's the process for you like when you get approached by a brand to work with you? Because I'm sure it happens all the time. So what's that process like for you?
So I'm in a very, very, very privileged position to be able to do this, and because social media is not my full-time, really it's something that's on the side. And like if a brand comes to me that aligns with, as I was saying before, with Keep It Cleaner's values, that's so important. It has to. Yeah. My values, which are very intertwined with Keep It Cleaner's values, and then also I feel like it can add value and I really like it, and it's a good partnership, then I will consider. Yeah. But the majority of my time is spent on Keep It Cleaner, so anything that's super time consuming or doesn't align, it's just something that, and I am able to say no. I understand it's hard for people that work full time on social media because that is their sole source of income. Obviously everyone should be responsible for what they're posting, but with me, my job is I'm full time at Keep It Cleaner. Like that's my job.
And to be a bit pickier.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's my focus, and that's what that's where my focus is. So anything that comes in separate to that, like through social media. It's only if it's really aligned. And then as well, something that we've been working really hard on, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the word influencer. Like we all influence people. That's absolutely fine. Or, everyone does. Everyone in the world literally influences people. You might influence your friend. You might have 5 followers or 100. You still influence others. But we are, for me, where my passion is as an entrepreneur and running a business. And so I make sure that, everything that I'm doing is aligning with that, because that's my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is a day-to-day like for you at Keep It Cleaner? What is your role? Do you and Steph have very succinct roles that you carry out on a daily basis? So
for a long time we actually didn't separate our roles, and we have now, which has been, it's obviously as our team's grown, it's very important for them to know like who to come to for what, and what we're both kind of across. But for me, I'm across more of the kind of legal, operational side of the business, financial, and then Steph's across all of it, but she is more on the content, social media side of things, and that's kind of how we divide and conquer. But we're so lucky now. We have such an amazing team that kind of do a lot of this. Like, it's not when people say, thank you so much to us personally, we're like, no, it's not us, it's the team. Like Steph and I are not just, we're a part of Keep It Cleaner, but Keep It Cleaner is a whole team of incredible people that work so hard to kind of make it what it is behind the scenes. But my day-to-day changes a lot depending on what the business is going through at the time. We might be going through a really important contract negotiation, so at that stage, like, my whole week will be sucked into that. And then if it's not, it's kind of always looking to, it's nice when we don't have those weeks where we just, you're just sucked into work that you're like, oh, no one can even see this, and I'm not, it's kind of reactive instead of proactive. And so when I can then spend time on proactive things for the business, that's really great too. So I kind of just try and balance.
How did you develop sort of the business sense of, people would just be shocked that you and Steph had a line in Coles at, like, how old were you when
how long? It was 2018, so 3 years ago. So I was, how old am I? I'm 28, 25.
Like, that is just
get my age.
Yeah, me too. I think I'm 27 still. How, like, to me, that is just unfathomable that two 25-year-old girls were able to get a line of food into Coles. Like, how did you navigate that process, which can be savage?
Savage is definitely savage. Thank you. That's so nice. So we actually we have 2 business partners in the grocery business. It's a separate business.
Yep.
And they came to us originally actually about working on literally an influencer thing. It was like promoting a product that they were working on. And we sat down and we started talking, and by the end of the conversation we realised that we wanted to possibly go into business together and work together. They were super young, really loved Keep It Cleaner, were really kind of, we had the same, I suppose, when we spoke about where we saw the brand going, we were super aligned. And for me, I'd had a protein business which I started when I was about 19, that I had another business partner in that, and we parted ways, but they kept the business and I left. And so from there I've learned so much about creating a food product.
Right,
It is hard, Protein's probably a great, well, not great place to start, but because it's mixing dry ingredients, it's a lower grade of all the safety things you have to do. Obviously you still have to be very hard but I'd kind of gone through the process of, sourcing a container and then doing the nutritional panel and all those things, and they're really timely, super costly. I remember when we did that, I think our cost per container, like when I told my new business partners, like, oh, this is like the old business that I had, they were like, that's literally like, that's 100 times the price that you should have been paying. But when you start, it's so hard. So I think that when I compared the protein business to kind of what we were able to do with our business partners, having people that were experienced and had worked, they'd both come from another business where they had done a lot of work with Coles and Woolworths and done a lot of product development work. So they'd done all of that. They had a lot of the contacts. It's really hard if you don't, because you end up paying, $10 for a container, which is what you might need to retail it to Coles and Woolworths for, which obviously you haven't even paid for your product, you haven't paid for the logistical side of it, all of those things. There's so many costs that come in. So I think having our business partners who had that expertise in the logistical side of it, they worked with Coles and Woolworths before, so we had an intro into them, and then I suppose it was up to us to go in there and sell the brand, because Coles had never, and we started with Coles, we launched with 7 products into Coles. Yeah. And I remember when we went into the range review meeting, so the way the supermarket works is depends, and in COVID it's been hard, but 6 to 12 months, a range, so it might be the health food aisle, will have a review, and they'll go through all of the products that are in there. And then they'll also then be able to bring in new products, and you have to present, and they go through all the presentations, and they choose what's going to work. And it's not just about the brand as in, this is a great product. You have to be able to meet obviously you have to go in at a certain price, and you have to be able to, cover all the distribution and go into all the shops they want, because not all of our products are in every single. They've got different levels of kind of how big the supermarket is. Some of them are smaller, so obviously they can't fit every product. Yeah. So you have to tick all of those boxes. But that's not what Steph and I were across. We were across selling the brand, the vision, the products, what the kick was all about. And we went into this meeting, and it's so funny, our buyer, Sam, he actually works for us now, and he's fantastic. Wow. And so we've kind of heard from him that he thought it was great, but they have to, everyone, if you're a buyer at Coles and Woolworths, you have to have a poker face. Okay. So you can't give away if you like it or not. It's just the way it is. And so we kind of left the meeting like, oh my God, that was the worst meeting ever. We're not going to get any products in. And I think for us as well, it was proving that, because they kind of saw, you've got Instagram followers, cool. Right. Also if you haven't heard of, if they hadn't heard of Keep It Cleaner before, like they don't, if someone hasn't heard of your brand, they don't, it's not really you can sell it to them, but unless they've experienced it, then, that's also not that helpful either. So we kind of had to show them that, yes, they're Instagram followers, which, as I said, no one had really gone into the supermarket with that as their marketing tool. Because obviously there's so many other ways you can market products in Coles and Woolworths, like in the catalogue, in the radio, like all of these things that we weren't doing. And they said, well, you're not doing any of the traditional means of marketing. So how do we know it's actually going to convert into sales? Like how do we have got no proof? No one's done it before. And we were like, we know it's going to work, and then it did. So we got in. It was just amazing. And then from there we're at about 100 products now, which is so exciting across Coles and Woolworths, and then independents as well. So it's been an amazing journey. We're so proud of it. We've got an amazing team that works on that as well. But it's been awesome. It is hard in the, obviously price competitiveness is it's a big thing. And so, but we are so true to what kick is, and the ingredients that have to be in the products, and we're no compromise, and everyone across the business knows that. So if there's a product that we could make where we have to compromise on something, we don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, because it's not obviously with the brand. And then because we've got, our brand is so big now, which is amazing. It's just every single customer experience matters. And so if someone buys a product that, doesn't tick all the boxes of Keep It Cleaner, they might have before bought our Bliss Pools, or they might have been a program member, but then if we lose that trust, it takes years to build trust with the customer, and it takes 10 seconds to lose it. So we're so conscious of that. And as we've grown, we've just had to make sure we haven't grown to a point where we're not kind of touching all of the elements, so we can make sure that we're still putting all the values first.
Have you ever walked into a meeting and just been like, because I have this imposter syndrome that we have as women, have you ever just thought, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth, what am I doing?
100%. Every day I am like, honestly, I'm waiting for someone to turn around and like be like, Laura, it's time for you to enter back into the life that you were meant to have. This has been like not a role play, but like something that we just wanted to give you this, but now you're going back, like pick you up back into where you belong to be, down, not in any important meetings or anything, and not running a business. So yes, I feel that every single day. I think I have ups moments and down moments, depending. I think obviously your confidence is so aligned with feeling like an imposter. But I think what I've learned is I used to think like, if I did this, then I won't feel this anymore. Like once I've done this, I won't feel like this. Once we have more products, I won't feel like this. What I've learned, the more successful that we've become, Keep It Cleaner, the worse the imposter syndrome gets, because then it's like, hang on, now we're running this business and it's really big, and we've got this team, and I feel even more of an imposter than I did before. So I think it's just important to know that a lot of people feel like that. I think a lot of successful people have imposter syndrome, and everyone is just, it kind of sounds so silly, but everyone is just a person. Like at the end of the day, like no one, I think, and this is, I think, what plays into my imposter syndrome, that successful people are special. Like they were born successful and, you know, they're super, super smart and, you know, they're different. And what I've realised is, yes, obviously successful people, there's things reasons why they're successful, but at the end of the day, they're just a person. And so I think that when I have that voice in my head saying, you know, you're not smart enough to be here, like you're not driven enough to be here, you haven't worked enough to be here, and like, hang on, that's just that voice in my head.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone else in this room might be thinking the same thing, except I think I do find, especially in the FMCG industry, which is the grocery industry, there's a lot of males. It's quite male dominated. It is getting a lot better, but often, you know, Steph and I are in a boardroom with 8 men that are, you know, maybe 30 or 40 years our senior with experience. And it is up to us to, I suppose, represent, you know, us and what we want to get across in that room. And there's things that I do that I regret so much. You know, I and we speak about it so much. I speak about how women do this, but I still
do it.
So, you know, apologising before you speak. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, why am I apologising? And every time I do it, I'll say, why did I apologise? And then 10 seconds later, I do it again.
Yeah.
Or, you know, saying, I just want a second of your time. Like, I think that there's all these things that we do, or when we say a statement, we might say it with a question at the end, because if the person doesn't agree, that's okay, because we could have made it a question, then agree, but, you know, we have to be agreeable, we have to be liked. And I think it's something that as women especially we battle with every single day. And I think the hardest thing is in operating a business is that you can't, not everyone can like you. It's literally impossible, and that's something that I've had to grapple with, that, you know, you have to put the best interests of the business forward and first, and sometimes, you know, people won't like that, but you know, that's part of it. You have to do it, and it's not just, I think it is harder, I think, for women to separate business from personal than it is for that I find that a lot of the men that I deal with in every day as well.
Yeah. So you and Steph obviously support each other. What would be your advice for women perhaps going into business with a friend?
I think so. It can go one way or another. I've definitely been in situations, and Steph and I have been, where things with partnerships that we've been in haven't worked out the way that we thought.
Yeah.
And I think we've been so lucky, and I think there's only a small percentage of friendships that can go into business together. And I think we've just, for us, I think that, not the secret, but the thing that's helped us, you know, work together as well as we do, is respect for each other.
Yeah.
As soon as you don't respect someone that you're working with, or they don't respect you, that's when, and what I've found, it's happened so many times, that's when things just go into pieces, and you don't feel valued, or you might feel like, you know, the other person isn't doing as much as you, or they feel that about you, and that's where, when there's no communication and there's no respect, like things just literally go down the drain. And I think as well, our friendship is so important to both of us.
Yeah.
And so we work really, really hard on our friendship as well as, and when I say work hard, like we make sure we don't just, because we work so much, and a lot of the time we're talking about work, we make sure we schedule time, like, okay, we're going to go to the movies tonight, we're not going to talk about work. And that's really important, because that's, you know, our friendship is really, really important to us. And I think also we genuinely want the best for each other.
Yeah.
So that's also really important. And we feel, you know, some people, it's so funny, I can joke about it because it's not something that affects me, but people always say, like, oh, do you, like, when they compare Steph and I, but I always think it's funny because we're so different, and we both really know who we are in our friendship and, you know, in life. I don't think you ever really, really, really know who you are, but, you know, enough. That we get through. But we've definitely been in partnerships and had experiences where it hasn't gone the way, you know, we work so well together. I think what we've realised is, you know, you can't, as much as you would love, like, and it's hard when I say this because I can trust Steph 100%, but there's not many other people that I've encountered in business that I can trust 100%. So it's really important to, I think we've been quite naive in a lot of things, that decisions we've made of things we've signed without, getting extra advice or thinking, hang on, has this person really got my best interest at heart? Because often, especially in business, the answer is no. So you have to be so aware of all of that stuff. And it's really nice to think that people are looking out for you, but it's not nice when it comes back to, get you a year or so later, because things can change so quickly.
And people can change too, especially when money is involved.
100%. Oh, absolutely. And that becomes the interest. So then they do whatever they can to make sure that is protected. And it's you have to make sure, get the contracts checked. That's my number one advice tip. But I was studying law, and we've still signed contracts that, we've checked. But obviously I'm not a professional lawyer. And at that stage I might have been, halfway through my degree. But you've kind of thought, oh no, but, they won't put anything in there that would, be unfair for us. And maybe it might not even mean that was the intention, but it's just that things can be interpreted in different ways. And it's just so important to empower yourself. And then legal fees are expensive, so that makes it harder. There's that barrier. But it's such an important investment, because then you are aware of the situation you're entering into and everything that can happen, and your rights and their rights. And I think obviously knowledge is power, and you need to be empowered.
Yes.
Especially when you're running your own business, because I've seen so many, especially young women that have not realised what they've signed, or, something's happened and they've lost their business.
Yeah.
And it's, they can't get it back because they've signed it away and they didn't realise. And, it's just so important to be empowered with, signing contracts and the legal side of things.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Laura Henshaw. Now, I did put it out there for you ladies to send through some questions for Laura, and we ended up talking for so long, and there were so many beautiful questions that I've decided to split this episode into two. So part 2, the Q&A, will be released next week. If you have enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I will speak to you soon.